Good morning, everyone. I'm Noah Silberschmidt. I'm the founder and the CEO of Silverstream Technologies. We are a leading maritime clean technology shipping company for shipping. I'm here today to talk about how billions of bubbles are changing shipping's emission problem. Silverstream Technologies works with the biggest names in shipping to reduce fuel and related emissions. Our system, on average, gives a 7.5% net efficiency, making a big impact on shipping today. Yes, in between 5 and 10%, depending on the ship operational profile, that's how much we are saving. So, shipping is probably the single greatest driver of global trade. Shipping underpins energy security. Shipping is transporting coal, gas, oil. And on this map, you can see the typical shipping routes around the world. There are, in fact, about 100,000 ships continuously working, delivering goods right now. Just look around you. Probably around 90% of things in this room and stuff that you own came here by ship. Your mobile phone, your laptop definitely, maybe your work bag, maybe your clothing. These goods have traveled thousands of miles to get here, most likely on multiple ships. It's no surprise that shipping has a significant emission output. About 3% of all greenhouse gas emissions today are caused by shipping. If you want to rank shipping as a country, it's the same amount as Germany is emitting. Unfortunately, shipping is on a slope to reach 11% of global greenhouse gas emission by 2050, unless we start today making big changes. So, how are we going to decarbonize shipping? Shipping is one of those hard to decarbonize industries, ambiguous global regulation, legacy hardware, very traditional. The industry is also very risk-averse to new technologies, like air lubrication. There's a lack of viable solutions and a wait-and-see approach. Regulation from the IMO is the International Maritime Organization. It's a body under the United Nations, and IMO is regulating the maritime industry and are beginning to influence change. But at the current pace, I'm really afraid to tell you that there's no way that we're going to reach net zero by 2050. We are very far from that. So, we know that shipping is a complex industry, lots of competing objectives and stakeholders. But sometimes the best solutions are the simplest ones. Something as simple as a bubble. Silverstream Technologies is a company that focuses on the hydrodynamic footprint of a vessel, frictional reduction. Going to be a bit technical here, but 60 to 70% of all fuel that a ship is using today is used to overcome the frictional resistance of the vessel. That's right. The water is a very fixed substance, and to push the vessel through the water is a difficult task. I set out to, more than a decade ago, to change that physical dynamic with a simple but very effective bubble technology. We brought to market and successfully scaled Silverstream technologies and the Silverstream system, our unique air lubrication system, ALS, which reduces net fuel and emissions by 5 to 10%. We are working today with all large ocean-going vessels. Many of these ships, they actually spend in between $10 and $15 million per ship per year in fuel. So to save 5 to 10% is actually quite a big deal. Now we have 170 orders. That is not easy when you come from a startup company and going into a growth company. We're about 120 people just focused on air lubrication. We are mainly based in the UK and in China. And we have about 1 million hours invested into focusing, learning, and understanding how we improve air lubrication. We are constantly focusing on innovation, improving what we are doing, creating new patent families. We today own 250 patents. So let's dive into very quickly what the Silverstream system is actually doing and how simple it is. We're installing compressors in the front of the ship below deck, called the forecastle or bottom store. We are leading compressed air through piping network down to these steel boxes called air release units, or ARUs. The ARUs are shaped in a certain way, so they create microbubbles, and microbubbles are then released into the boundary layer. The whole flat bottom is then covered by basically a magic carpet of air. It's very thin, about 10 millimeters thick. And this is then changing the overall hydrodynamics of the vessel, so the vessel is just gliding more easily through the water. If you keep the same RPM, you're increasing the speed with less shaft power and less fuel. You can, of course, also go at the same speed, and then you reduce the RPMs and you reduce the fuel a lot. Our technology is simple in design. It's easy to operate and fully automated system. It's a very truly scalable technology. We work on both new builds, so engaging directly with new build yards. They're mainly based in China and Korea. But we're also engaging into retrofit. Retrofit meaning when the vessel goes to repair yard every 5 years for an update and service, we can also install our system there. And currently 25% of our order book are focused just on retrofits. Our technology is complementary to all other energy efficiency technologies that goes on ships. Our technology is effective in all sea states and weather conditions. So we do not need a specific condition for our system to work. Not only is our system making a big impact in shipping today, but it's also fuel agnostic. Fuel agnostic meaning that even when we transfer to new fuel that are less emitting, these fuels are going to be very expensive. And it's very important upfront that we try and save as much of those fuels as possible, because otherwise to ship anything will be extremely expensive. So proving net savings for a ship is difficult. We always work with third parties on the verification, and that's important. Shipping needs to know that technologies perform as they say they do. Otherwise, how are they going to invest and figure out what will work for them? We have verified and deployed across the biggest ocean-going segments. Anything from wet and dry bulk, LNG carriers, container ships, car carriers, cruise ships, you name it, and we have installed our system on that kind of ship. We are currently working with about 20 partner shipyards across major shipbuilding and repair locations, including China, Korea, Singapore, Europe, and the Middle East. Today, we are a trusted partner of some of the leading owners in the industry. You probably already know names like MSC, the world's largest shipping company, Maersk, the world's second largest shipping company, oil and gas majors like Shell, Chevron, ADNOC, and Carnival Cruise, Grimaldi, Carliners, and so on and so forth. We are helping all these companies to cut their fuel bills and also IMO compliance. It's a win-win situation for ship owners who save money and cut their carbon footprint. Silverstream is also gaining recognition outside of shipping. Financial Times, a UK newspaper, every year has a list of the 1,000 fastest growing companies in Europe. This year we are ranked as the 4th fastest growing company. This is really a big deal for a shipping technology company. We recently also were awarded the British King's Award for our contribution to British export. So just taking a step back and thinking about those savings of 5 to 10% net. What does that actually mean in practice? The average vessel that we work with probably spends about 16,000 tons of fuel per year. That will emit something like 50,000 tons of CO2. There's like 3.2 tons of CO2 in 1 ton of HFO. Our vessels typically will have a lifespan of 25 years. So installing our system on a typical ocean-going vessel will save about 3,000 tons of CO2 per year. If you convert that into how much a regular family car is emitting, it's about 2,000 family cars that we take off the road every year. Our system is reducing all emissions, so it's not just CO2, it's also things like NOx and SOx. NOx is nitrogen oxide. NOx is very bad for your health. It presents an immediate danger to human health, lung cancer, respiratory diseases, and so on. Anyway, that's just for one ship. If we multiply the savings across the 170 contracted fleet we already have, it's equivalent to 340,000 cars we take off the road every year. And now if we focus on the real opportunity, out of the 100,000 ships in the commercial fleet today, let's say that 20,000 ships, which is our target market, they are young enough vessels, they are big enough vessels to make a big impact. If we did install our technology on those vessels that's suitable in the world fleet, that would be equivalent to taking 40 million cars off the road each year. I say each year again because these vessels typically operate for 25 years. That's their lifespan. This is how we change shipping and the world forever. And all of this just from a single air bubble. So we might think here today that shipping is on the right course to decarbonization. But I'm really afraid to say it's not. I mentioned zero emission fuels earlier. Some are waiting for them to arrive to solve shipping's emissions problems. They'll be up to 8 times more expensive than regular HFO bunker fuel. And it will need a lot of new expensive infrastructure. It will cost trillions of dollars to implement this infrastructure, and it will take multiple years. Delaying adoption of proven clean tech only worsens the situation. The global fleet size grows while the decarbonization window reduces. Tick-tock, the clock is really ticking here. If we're going to hit tens of thousands of installed vessels with our technology, we need the support of regulators to accelerate change. It is up to you here today to help remove regulatory barriers and incentivize adoption. Owners and charters, they actually really want to comply. Forums like these they are a step in the right direction, and I'm honored to be here and presenting to you today. But we need tangible action. ensuring that proven solutions like ours and other technologies are adopted across the whole industry. Silverstream has created the blueprint for clean technology adoption in shipping. No one is doing more to demonstrate savings and build their order books. We want to see more companies like ours benefit from regulations that encourage innovation. This is how we get back on track with net zero. If we do this together, we will change shipping forever. Thank you. To come to where we have come today, being very successful, has been an extremely hard journey. And most likely for a technology company, it's not going to happen. We've been lucky, we have gotten there. But today we need regulation to help the industry make those choices, force them to make those choices. I think the technology implementation should really be paying for itself. With our technology, for example, you can derate the main engine. You can change the design of the vessel, so the all-in price should be about the same. So that's sort of like that's how it could be funded. But there need to be regulation around how much you're allowed to emit, like you mentioned, ETS schemes around the world. Those ETS schemes, the funding that goes into those probably should be put back into shipping, so shipping can afford to invest into technologies. We are trying to integrate our technology with the main operation of the vessel and help advise how you, in a more holistic approach to the vessel, get a better saving using our technology, but we are also helping with other operational features. We have worked with machine learning. Everybody calls it AI today, but machine learning. Pierre was talking about digital twinning. We're doing all that as well to make sure that the industry gets to really get all the benefits and optimization available. Typically, the payback, so it's all economies of scales. So the larger the vessel, so a large vessel, really large vessel, spends $20 to $25 million a year in fuel. We save 5 to 10%. So typically, for a normal vessel, we save about $750,000 a year in fuel, but it could be $1 million. And this is at today's level of fuel cost. So then, by me saying that, then you can calculate how much the technology cost. Technology cost for this sort of technology is in between $1 and $2 million, depending on the sizing of the vessel. And that's at today's fuel cost. If we move into, that's what I talked about being fuel agnostic. If we talk about newer fuels, different fuels, ammonia, hydrogen, then the payback would go into like 5 months, 6 months. So extremely quick payback time. But even with that in mind, I think the point here we're trying to make today is that the industry still needs some guidelines to work with. I think that the fact that we work with a certain amount of companies, these companies have the capacity to understand what new technologies are available. And the general company with only 5 to 10 vessels will not necessarily have the time and being able to investigate. And they probably need help from the regulatory environment to help them what to do, maybe in financing also, but also a sort of tax, carbon tax that carbon level that we talked about earlier with the delegate from Iceland. there are a lot of associated positive benefits from using air lubrication. Bubbles into the propeller will have a dampening effect on what you in industry call URN, underwater radiated noise. So we are already now doing testing and innovating around this. We are working with cruise shipping companies because both on board the vessel noise is reduced, but also outside the vessel. So this will impact marine life. There's a dampening effect. Perhaps most people are not aware of that actually when drilling happens in sea for natural resources, quite often you need you use an air bubble curtain around the drilling to minimize the noise. So it makes very much sense that our air bubbles coming around the flat bottom actually dampened is a cushioning layer. Other effects is also that the air bubbles actually also takes off the fouling and slime that normally grows on a vessel and increases the drag on a vessel. So that's just also another effect. There is investigation into how air bubbles increase the reflection of the sun. Our air bubbles will be in the wake for about 1.5 kilometers or about 1 mile. And as a company, you have to decide how much are you going to focus on variable effects of your technology. It's something we are aware of. It will be a positive benefit. Currently, we are focusing more on the URN, as described before, and the fouling minimization of our technology. But I think we'll be happy to be discussing the topic that you just mentioned. I have a department of innovation and R&D, and we will have capacity to if you want to put us in contact with someone. Thank you.